Wednesday, May 31st, 2023, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today, we're going to look at why India is demonetizing its 2,000 rupee banknotes. And it's interesting because I spoke about this back in 2016 on this channel, back in November of 2016. And the title of the video was Why India Demonetized Most of Its Cash Overnight. Well, back then, they gave people like 48 hours to exchange 1,500 rupee notes. And yeah, overnight almost. And it was a huge mess. And it's one of my best videos in terms of views. So I'm going to put it up in the cards. And very little has changed vis-a-vis India and why the government keeps doing that. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. Before I do, I'd just like to let you know that Glint, who provides an app and a way to store gold in Switzerland and provide you also a MasterCard with which you can use gold to pay for things. They have a special promotion. The referral code for that promotion is Monaco V50. You get 50% off vaulting and insurance fees for the next 12 months. And this code is only valid to the 14th of July 2023. So if you don't have a Glint app or a card, you might want to think about it. And you're going to save a little bit on the vaulting and insurance. So back to India. And I saw an article about it because I hadn't seen it. The recent move by the Indian government. They want to demonetize the 2,000 rupee banknotes now. So just to give you an idea, 2,000 rupees is basically 20 pounds. The exchange rate, I think 1 pound is 102 rupees. So what they're going to do is they're going to take these out of circulation and give you smaller denominations. So you can get 2 tens. And why are they doing this? Well, I'm going to give you my 2 cents, just like I did back in 2016. And nothing has changed much in India. And I think the Indian people, actually, they're freedom-loving people and they don't trust government. And I think I'm sorry to say, India is right at the bottom in terms of the corruption in the world. It's like number 87. And that's what happens when government is corrupt, when the whole system is very corrupt. People tend to not want to pay taxes. And that's one of the major reasons why India tax revenue as a percentage of GDP, according to CEIC data, is around 7.8% of GDP. And that's very low compared to the OECD countries, which is the organization of the most developed countries. That's 33.4%. And here in the UK, it's even more. They've been taxing people the most for the last 70 years right now. And it goes to show that Indian bureaucracy, it's famous for also not working very well and being a big institution where there's a lot of corruption too. Doesn't work very well, so their tax collecting system is not good. And inflation is the other part of it, because if you look at the rupee versus gold, and I've done this just from the year 2000 until now, the rupee has dropped 92% versus gold. So that's how many grams of gold you can get for 1 Indian rupee. So Zero Hedge has reported that, and this comes from Shift Gold. This article here, you can read through it. This is how I realized that they've done it again. I think it was instituted about 5 days. This time, though, it looks like the Indian government has learned a lesson that you don't do it you don't give people just 48 hours to hand in their banknotes. They're giving them till September, which is a bit longer. And the other thing about Indians, they love keeping cash, which is understandable because they like their privacy, and a lot of business is done in cash, and they don't really like keeping much money in the bank or currency in the bank. And I think that's a good thing. And it might sound strange to you. You might be saying, Mario, why don't you want people to have bank accounts? Well, because we all know how banks operate. And I think deep down, the Indian people don't trust the banks. So what do Indian people do to protect themselves, seeing that inflation there is massive, 92% drop in their currency? Well, it's not surprising. Indians are probably they're the biggest consumers, if you can use that word, of gold. Indians, you've all heard of the Indian weddings, right? The bride gets loads of gold, and a lot of it is 22 karat. Here in England or in the UK, we have a lot of Indian jewelry stores, which I've never been to one, but I've heard that you can buy 22 karat gold, and they like the 22 karat gold jewelry almost as cash. So this article I think it's from Shift Gold, is talking about how we've seen gold sales increase as well. Back in 2016, the same thing happened. The day they announced this 1,500 rupee demonetization, people went out and bought a lot of gold jewelry, and I expect they're probably also buying silver jewelry. And this has also got to do with this CBDC. I think India will have a very tough time implementing a CBDC, seeing that it's basically a cash economy. And but this is more of that. So the Indian government is trying to kill many birds with one stone. They're trying to stop tax evasion. They're trying to get people to keep their savings in the bank. They're trying to get people to open bank accounts. I think back in 2016, one of the rules that they had was they had a limit of how much you could bring in the 500 and 1,000 rupee notes, but there's no limit if you put it into a bank account. So that's what's going on, and it's ironic because we're told always that India is the biggest democracy in the world, mainly because it's got over 1 billion people. But it seems to me that their government doesn't operate to the benefit of the general public. They inflate the currency massively, and they do these kinds of I would call this as a shenanigan, demonetizing banknotes, not giving them much time. I mean, the Swiss did demonetize, I think, the 1,000 franc notes, or they changed notes, but they gave them a few years to do that. Back in 2016, they gave them 2 days. Now they've kind of learned a little bit, and they've given them to September. So that's what's going on in India, and it's going to be really interesting to keep track of India. And why is that? Well, because it's a big economy. It's a big chunk of the population of the planet. And if they refuse to go cashless and to only use bank cards and everything, then it might not work for the whole world. So before we quickly look at the markets, just wanted to show you some Indian rupee, silver rupee coins that I have. And I bought these over 10 years ago, probably, at one of the coin expositions in London. And they're half rupees from 1939, and they're in very good condition. I bought a bag full of them. I don't remember how much I paid for them. Here you go. They're really nice. I just dropped a few. They're really nice coins. So they've got, it says half rupee, India, 1939. Yes, this is before India became independent, of course. It's got George the Sixth there. And then half rupee. Beautiful coins. They're a little bit like a quarter, I would say, the size, or a shilling. And they're about, let me see here, I've got the details here. George the Sixth, half rupee. Well, it's about 5.83 grams, the weight of the coin, and they're 22 carat, so 0.9166. They're not 925. That makes a difference. And that year, as I see here, 1939, they minted over 10 million. That's probably why I was able to get so many. And I've got an 1891 rupee. So there you go. And it's got Victoria, of course. And that's double the weight. It's 11.66. So there you go. Interesting times. So it's 8:33 a.m. London time. We got spot gold unchanged, 1958. It has been up to 1965. The low is 1953. Silver has been up to 23.50 overnight. And I saw it earlier today when I got up, but ever since I started making this video, it's come off a bit. It's at 23.30. It's up 11 cents. The Dow future is down 90. S&P is down 10, and the Nasdaq future is down 37. Of course, this debt ceiling distraction is still ongoing. And why do I say distraction? Well, because we've got so much crises, wars, fears, everything thrown at us these days. And I think they're distractions. We need to focus as individuals on what we do best. We need to focus on creating value for ourselves, our families, and trying to store some of that excess value into precious metals, I would say, or into hard assets that really hold their value over time, and try to stop dealing with the banks as much as possible, just like the Indian people do. And, good on them, I would say. So what about the currencies? Well, we've got sterling down 1/3% at 123.68. We got the euro down 0.5% at 106.77. So is the dollar really strong? Well, it's just all relative. So maybe the market expects something to come out of this debt ceiling deal. I saw that it passed through a committee, and I think they're going to have the vote today in the House and in the Senate. And it's going to be touch and go. So we've got dollar down slightly versus the yen, though, 139.64. And the dollar is up 0.5% versus the yuan at 7.12. So the dollar is pretty strong, relatively strong against the yuan at the moment. Aussie dollar is down 0.5%, 64.79. The dollar is up 1/3 versus the Canadian dollar, 136.42. And the Kiwi dollar is down 0.75%, just below, well, trading around 60 right now. Commodities, WTI crude trading at 69.50. That's unchanged, but it has come off since I last spoke to you. Brent crude as well is unchanged, 73.63. Platinum is down about $3 at 1,020, and high grade copper is down 0.5% at 365. Let's quickly check the bond market. We're going to start with the gilt market, the UK government bond market. Well, that seems to have stabilized for now, I say. The 2 years back down to 440. It had gone above 450. The 10 years at 4.24, and the 30 years at 4.60. We're not out of the woods yet, people, in terms of yields and government bond markets. Let's have a look at the Treasury market. So the 1 month T-bill, that's come down quite a bit. It was above 6 recently. Now it's at 5.39. Looks like they do expect some kind of deal, debt ceiling deal there. And the 2 years at 4.42, that's down 6 basis points. And the 10 years at 3.66, down 4 basis points. So I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.